The Raiders hiring Tom Brady to be their next head coach might actually happen thanks to Tom Brady. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, there's a lot of exciting news circulating right now around the Raiders head coaching job. And I'm telling you what, right now, if you wanted Ben Johnson, and if you were looking for a Ben Johnson update, I got a really interesting Ben Johnson update that even my guy Chuck here is interested to hear. So coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the latest around Ben Johnson. Then I'm going to tell you, is Brady the reason why Johnson could potentially get this job? And then what else should the nation be looking for? Because he's one of the top head coach candidates out there. Quite frankly, I think he is the top head coach candidate out there. And there's some interesting tweets, some interesting comments that are made, which I'm going to show some people near the end of today's show. If you're always looking for Raiders news, for Raiders updates, hit that subscribe button. First thing I did when I woke up this morning, besides getting licked in the face by Chuck, took him out for a quick little walk. And then I saw all the news here around Johnson. I said, all right, I got to end up making a video here for the nation. Also, huge shout out to everybody yesterday. Over 250 new subs on the video we did around Jed Hughes. If you're like, who the heck's Jed Hughes? Go check out the video yesterday. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through an entire passage here from Ian Rappaport, NFL Network, and there is a lot of reading that is going to go down. I'm just going to warn you. I am a horrific reader, but I am going to do my best to power through. You can think of me as the Josh McDaniels in the red zone of trying to figure out how to read. So here we go. I'm going to read this whole passage, and then I'm going to give you my 2 cents on it. As the Raiders head coach search kicks into gear, one name to watch, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. The organization is said to be enamored with him, and Tom Brady's personal touch has helped. And while the coaching world can invite all sorts of craziness, sources say there is one particular team to keep an eye on for Johnson, the Las Vegas Raiders. He has quickly emerged as the candidate to watch for Las Vegas, as the Raiders in search for that promptly includes limited partner Tom Brady, are willing to wait as long as it takes to secure their potential future head coach. Jed Hughes, shout out to Jed, of firm Korn Ferry, is assisting with that search, according to me and NFL Network insider Mike Garafolo. I will say be careful what Garafolo says. He's really been kind of off with everything that's been going on around this Raiders head coaching search. He's 0 for 2 in my book. So again, just keep that in mind. But like one of the things that we got to talk about here with the Raiders and them going out and they're bringing in a guy like Jed Hughes, they're willing to wait. And when a random firing like Telesco happens, and it was very random, and if you still don't know why the Raiders fired Telesco, I think you definitely need to go check out that Jed Hughes video that I did yesterday. But when you see now all this stuff happening, a lot of smoke starting to build up, and I'm just telling you, it's going to be interesting. Though, hope everybody out there in California is safe. I'm not going to use that analogy anymore, and I just popped into my head. So please forgive me. All right, let's go to the next thing here, again, by NFL Network, okay? Yet, thanks in part to involvement of Tom Brady, whose sources say personally vouched for Johnson and implored him to take the interview through his agent, Johnson spoke with them. Essentially, Brady recruited Johnson to interview. And based on Johnson's work on the field as one of the top coordinators, plus his experience alongside Dan Campbell, helped building the Lions from the ground up in the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs, Johnson's is considered to be an ideal match. So I know a lot of people were always worried like Tom Brady. And I know people are like, oh, I don't want to go back to the Patriot way. And you're not going to get the Patriot way. Josh McDaniels also isn't the Patriot way. And what do I mean by that? Right? Like, well, McDaniels is the Patriot way. But Tom Brady to me isn't that. Like, I feel like Tom Brady made his own way, right? If you don't want to go down the path that Tom Brady built, I'm sorry, what are we even doing here, right? Like, I know that people don't want to be the Las Vegas, Patriots, whatever the hell you want to call them. I saw all different names during McDaniels, and I get it. There was a lot of reason to be concerned around McDaniels. I'm not saying that there's zero reason to be concerned around Tom Brady and around, Ben Johnson, but we got to stop with the Tom Brady's trying to turn us into the Patriots. You ready for what I'm about to say? If the Raiders win as much as what Tom Brady did in New England, I don't care what they call us. All I care about is winning football games, and I hope that that's where we can get online here a little bit. Calm down, Mitch. All right, here we go. Keep it going here with NFL Network. Johnson is said to have kept an open mind and is still weighing which options he likes, which he would take given the opportunity. He likely will have other options as well, obviously. Asked about head coaching jobs during the season, Johnson said generally, there's a burning desire in every man to find what he's made of, push the limits, and to see what he's got, what it takes. So yeah, there's fire in there. Now, what's the time? I don't know what that'll be, but there's certainly fire in there. So if you remember last offseason, Ben Johnson was not afraid to turn down a few jobs. He waited for his best opportunity, and who knows? Maybe he ends up getting that best opportunity with Tom Brady. All right, keep it going. The Raiders loom as a fascinating one again, in part because Brady, who became a limited partner this past October, he has been quietly researching coaching candidates for some time, speaking with his old coach, Bill Belichick, and using his time pregame on the field to pick the brains of some of the game's best. For instance, Brady called the Lions-Packers game in Week 9 for Fox Sports, which featured two of Las Vegas's candidates, Ben Johnson, and Aaron Glenn, the Lions' defensive coordinator. Raiders owner Mark Davis, speaking at the conclusion of the December League meetings in Irving, Texas, was effusive about how he views Brady's role. And you can kind of go into that one. Essentially, the cliff notes of that quote is like, he's going to trust Tom Brady to make the right decisions. We know Tom Brady's going to be the one calling a lot of the shots. And I've been saying for, a few days, I hope Mark Davis listens to Tom Brady so much that Tom Brady's ears, if you go up to him and you go, it smells like Tom Brady's breath. That's how much I want Mark Davis listening to Brady, and maybe even my guy Jed Hughes. Positivity is a key word. Stability is a key word. The time appears to be now. So now we're going to go back to what Rappaport says. The time appears to be now. In fact, Brady was influenced in the decision to fire Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco, seeking alignment for him in the GM to head coaching search. That's one of the reasons why Jed Hughes was brought in. Max Crosby, I hope you're seeing this. Johnson spoke to the Raiders virtually on Friday, and he also had virtual meetings with the New England Patriots, Chicago Bears, Jacksonville Jaguars. Many around the league wondered if he would interview for the Raiders, considering their recent disarray. And I was one of those people. Where I was like, there's no way you're going to have any shot in hell of getting Ben Johnson. Hell, my Raiders head coach candidates video, Johnson's in the video. He's not ranked very high because I never thought in a million years, based on a lot of the things that he was looking for. And when you look at a lot of the things that Johnson's looking for, he wants a quarterback. He wants some stability, wants some insurance in his, organization, but he also wants to be able to bring in his own GM. Like, these are things that are very well reported around the Lions. And everything that the Raiders have done this week aligns with what Ben Johnson is trying to get a hold of. They cleaned house again this past week, firing head coach Antonio Pierce on Tuesday and general manager Tom Telesco on Thursday after one season, a year after doing the same thing to Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler. It's not really the same thing. He gave him a year and a half. Felt like 8 years. With a roster not at competition level and desperation need of quarterback, Las Vegas is a build, not a fixer-upper. That last part there by Ian Rappaport, go check out the Jed Hughes video, because Jed Hughes' whole philosophy on how to build a head coach and how to build a GM is all around you can't just try to do the instant fixer-upper. And you can't just slap a Band-Aid over a wound, which is what Mark Davis has tried to do with the mega deal for John Gruden, 10 years, $100 million guaranteed, the Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler hiring. And I know he did what the nation wanted for Antonio Pierce. We tried it. It did not work. Let's just be honest. It did not work. This is a build. And whoever this next head coach is going to be, he's going to want to have his opportunity to build. And he's going to get his time to do it. I'm telling you, the next Raiders head coach, again, unless it's 0-17, 0-34, which I can't handle that. He's going to be around for at least 3 years. I'm telling you that right now. So I want to ask this question here. And usually I ask the pinned comment way earlier in a video, but I had a lot of people said, Mitch, I like the show that you did yesterday, and I kind of wanted to stick to a similar style that I did here. So my question is this, and you're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break. I want you to scroll on down and give me your answer. Would you forgive Tom Brady, and would you forgive the Tuck rule if the Raiders hire Ben Johnson? Scroll on down, give me your answer. My answer coming up here after this YouTube ad break. All right, the reason why I am even asking this question, because obviously, like, we've been, hearing a lot of crazy things. I want to give a shout out to one of our loyal watchers, Nico Laz, and he's always like, bro, I would give my left nut for Ben Johnson, right? Which, I can't do that yet. Maybe 15 years down the line, Mark, let's talk about it if you bring in Ben. I've made crazy deals in the past. I said I'd go live for 24 straight hours when the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. I went live for 26. The left nut thing is not an impossible situation. Let's just say that. But the reason why I'm asking this question is, again, the first thing that I do, I'm a Raider fan just like all y'all. And as soon as I woke up, I was like, is there any head coaching news? Is there any updates? Is there anything going on around Ben Johnson? And literally the first thing that popped up was this story from the NFL Network. And then I saw my guy, Sanjeet. Sanjeet, hope you're doing well, man. Happy holidays to you. Hopefully 2025 treats you and your family well. Beautiful kid, by the way. This is what I hope, though. I really, really hope that some Raider fans potentially forgive him, because I saw Sanjeet's tweet, and he was like, dude, I would forgive the Raiders, or I would forgive Tom Brady and the Tuck rule if the Raiders hired Ben Johnson. So I was like, man, I got to ask this question because we've been getting asked it a bunch on our live shows. I'll tell you this. I'm not somebody who's mad at Tom Brady for the Tuck rule, because I'll be real. I am a new Raider fan. I'm not afraid to admit it. I say it all the time on our live show. So I wasn't around back then. So I'll be real. I don't remember the pain. I don't know if I remember it all that well. I'm a 93 baby, so I'm still a little bit young and maybe a lot of people's eyes out there, right? Though the Raiders have basically lost the entire time that I've been alive. Anyway, though, I saw Sanjeet's tweet and I go, all right, like, I got to ask that. So for me personally, I've never been mad at Tom Brady for the Tuck rule. I don't even really think it's Tom Brady's fault. It's the refs' fault, right? Like, the refs are the ones that call the play. If you were in a game situation, I think we've all probably been in a situation where we were playing a sport growing up, right? Like, I played college baseball. I played semi-pro baseball. I got a lot of strikeout calls on pitches that maybe shouldn't have been called strikes. Don't get me wrong. I walked a few guys, too, no doubt about it, on calls that I wanted to get strikes. It happens in sports. You can't get mad at the pitcher. You can't get mad at the hitter. You can't get mad at the quarterback. You get mad at the refs. And, you know, we're definitely not afraid to do that. But, like, I'm not kidding you when I say this. If Tom Brady's able to land Ben Johnson, I don't want to hear any more of Patriot way. I don't want to hear any way. Like, we're talking about commitment to excellence. That's what Tom Brady is, right? Like, Tom Brady is the definition of commitment to excellence, whether you want to believe that, whether you like that, whether you're like Lord Buddy Bear and it's, you know, I don't like Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the commitment to excellence. He's a player that nobody thought would ever be anything and turned out to be the greatest quarterback of all time, the greatest leader of all time. And I'd like Tom Brady to stay the greatest of all time, because there's only one guy right now that I think could challenge it, and his name's Patrick Mahomes. And if you go out, you hire the right people, let's put a stop. Let's put a stop to that. Let's keep Tom Brady the greatest of all time, because you know what's a nice little tip in your cap? Not only are you the greatest quarterback with the most Super Bowl rings, what if you could bring back the Raiders, a team that has lost more football games in the last 30 years? Over the last 30 years, there are only 3 teams in the NFL that have more than 294 losses over the last 30 years. They are the Cleveland Browns at 294, the Detroit Lions at 294, and the Las Vegas Raiders at... Yo, you didn't like that one? 295. I'm just saying, we got to get back to commitment to excellence. And the fact that a top head coach candidate, it's been reported, willing to take an interview solely based on Tom Brady. If you're able to land him, because sometimes you just got to get him in the door, right? I mean, Alex, my fiance, way out of my league. I know that. But you know what? Shoot or shoot. And the Raiders, you got to shoot your shot. And sometimes you get lucky enough and you get a yes. Coming up next here on the show, I got a very important, and I mean very important news around Ben Johnson to get into. Before I do that, though, huge shout out to our sponsor here, PrizePicks, the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more, you pick less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money, and I can get them in as quick as 15 minutes. That's pretty awesome. Sorry if you guys see the screen moving. Chuck is just an absolute maniac down here right now. Though, Chuck told me, you know what, Mitch? I'm going to be watching the Chargers and Texans game. I heard that you're going to be live for that. And if you're going to be watching the Texans and Chargers game today, if you're going to be watching the Ravens and Steelers game tonight, put down like a $5 lineup and watch how invested you are in that game. It is so much fun. It's so electric. And I always say, you know, in today's day and age, for you to be able to put down $5 and occupy yourself for 3 hours, I mean, that's just like, doesn't exist. And even if you lose, you're going to lose sometimes. That's okay. you still come away with it. You're like, dude, I just occupied myself for 3 hours on $5. Like, it's unbelievable. But there's not too often where you can occupy yourself and you got a chance to win. So download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, won your game. If you've never done this before on Prize Picks, I also recommend this. Before the games get kicked off, they do a new, I guess, thing that you can pick where it's like rush yards in the first 5 attempts or receiving yards in the first 2 catches. If you're also like, Mitch, I don't have 3 hours in a day to sit down and watch football. I get it. I'm a busy guy too. Put rush attempts, right? Like the rushing yards in the first 5 attempts, because usually that's going to happen in the first half for a back that's like a Derrick Henry, maybe a Najee Harris or something like that. That's what I'm going to do. I mean, that's super fun to me. And then I do a lineup that I think is going to happen early on, so I know if I win a little bit of money or not. And then I do a lineup for the entire game. For me, I do $10 a game for a shot usually to win somewhere around $40, $45. I'm not a high roller, and I don't want to be a high roller. But you know what? I have a lot of fun using Prize Picks. All right, let's get into some interesting tweets, interesting quotes here, if you will, from some well-respected NFL insiders. And I'm just going to give you my 2 cents on some of the things that they say. And then I guess we'll hop on out of here, right? So real quick, this is from Diana Rossini. Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson interviewed well with the Patriots, but plans to meet with other teams. Meanwhile, the Patriots are pushing for a quick resolution to their head coaching search, per source. Many around the league expect a decision this weekend, which I think is very important because they've interviewed Mike Vrabel. They interviewed Ben Johnson. Now, I am curious of who their other interview was, because I'm almost wondering, there has to be, which I'm going to look up right now. Sorry. I mean, sometimes I do this stuff too. Because there has to be somebody else that the Patriots interview from my current knowledge. My current knowledge, and again, I don't follow New England maybe as close as I should. Maybe I got to start doing it. But to my knowledge, they've only interviewed Mike Vrabel. They've only interviewed Ben Johnson. They need to interview a minority candidate to be able to fulfill the Rooney Rule, which I think the NFL, if the Rooney Rule is only going to be wasting another human being's time, let's not do it, right? If you already know it's going to be Mike Vrabel, if you already know it's going to be Ben Johnson, if I was a head coach like an Aaron Glenn, who is a very, very well-credited head coach, if you're only going to interview me because I'm black or because I'm a minority, you can go take your time somewhere else, right? I get why the rule was established, but in a situation like this, why are we wasting another human being's time? So that's all I'm going to say. But anyway, so Glenn turned down that interview, and I think that Glenn was going to be one of the candidates where they were like, all right, it's a serious interview, but also fulfills the Rooney Rule here a little bit. So if they're trying to make this decision quick, I would imagine that there has to be. All right, yeah, here. So the Patriots did announce Thursday afternoon that they completed their interviews with Vrabel after they already met. Okay, so they already met with Byron Leftwich, and they already met with Pep Hamilton. So Byron Leftwich, he's got some Tom Brady ties. He was the OC for the Buccaneers, I want to say, from 2019 to 2022. And then Pep Hamilton is another well-respected quarterback mind, offensive mind. So they've already fulfilled their Rooney Rule designations, so they can decide to hire whoever. So the fact that Diana Rossini is telling you, hey, they're trying to make a decision this week, I think if you're the Raiders, that really, really helps you out. Because if the Patriots pick their guy first, right? And I think New England's going to go with Mike Vrabel. I really, really do. I know they hired Ben Johnson first, or they interviewed Ben Johnson first, and then they interviewed Mike Vrabel. But for Aaron Glenn to cancel it, I think they already know what the writing on the wall is, and they're going to pick one of those two guys. But for as quickly as what the Patriots fired Gerard Mayo, they had to have something already cooking up there in the background a little bit, which is why I think it's already cooked up with Vrabel, because they had that relationship with Vrabel. They didn't have that relationship with Ben Johnson. And, we talk a lot about stability, and that's one of the things that, Ben Johnson wants. I mean, since since Tom left the Patriots, there hasn't been stability. So if I'm Ben Johnson and I'm going, all right, well, was it the Patriots that were stability, or was it Tom Brady? I mean, Bill Belichick doesn't even have a winning record without Tom Brady. I'm going to go with Tom Brady was the reason why there was a lot more stability in New England, and I think it's going to be one of the reasons why Ben Johnson, if given the opportunity, could choose the Raiders over New England, but I don't even think he's going to have that opportunity because I think the Patriots, as we all know, are probably going to hire Mike Vrabel, which I've talked a lot about Vrabel going to the Raiders. It's because it's been the name that was given to me. It was the name that has, been brought up to me a lot. And it's obvious that the Raiders were interested in trying to go out and get Vrabel, or else not as many people would have reported it. But if you think I'm going to be upset if the Raiders get Ben Johnson compared to getting Mike Vrabel, you don't watch this show very often. Ben Johnson was my number one candidate last year. I've one of the young offensive mind. He's 38 years old. You can make an argument he might be the best play caller in the NFL. I know Andy Reid exists, but Andy Reid also has Patrick Mahomes. I don't even want to know what Ben Johnson would look like with it. Freaking Patrick Mahomes. So, unbelievable. I really hope that we get him. All right, also, Rossini said this. The Tom Brady factor in Las Vegas has given the Raiders an edge in attracting candidates they typically wouldn't land. His influence is a key draw, which is why coaches like Ben Johnson agreed to meet with him. I think the other part that people a lot of times just got to realize is I'm a human being. Y'all are human beings. I was listening to the Rush Pod yesterday with Max Crosby. It's the Antonio Pierce episode. If you guys are a little bit worried about what Max could do, I put out some tweets late last night at Mitchell Renz 365 on Instagram at Mitchell Renz 365, and just some ideas and some of the things that I heard about Max. And again, two keywords I'm going to start using because I heard them in Max's pod, and all those guys did an amazing job. It's going to be a show that I'm definitely going to continue to watch. We'd love to be able to get you guys on our program here as well, maybe in the off season. But anyway, stability is a big one, right? Stability and positivity are going to be the two words that I'm going to continue to use. And, Broggs used positivity and, Max said stability. And I think a lot of the things that the Raiders are trying to create this offseason are around those two things. But if you guys haven't, go check it out. It's a really great episode. Anyway, though, the fact that we might be able to land somebody that we would not have originally been able to land because of Tom Brady, that's a really, really big pick. And, Max talked about on that show, I was trying to figure out where I was trying to go with it. A little bit of a scatterbrain at times. Max was talking about, that he's a normal dude and he wants to win as well. I think a lot of candidates want to meet Tom Brady because he's Tom Brady, right? And I get it. Tuck rule. Raider fans are probably one of the only group of people that are like, I don't know if I would want to meet Tom Brady. I think every person that loves football, given the opportunity to shake hands, to be able to meet, to be able to sit down, if you're a football guru and if you're like a football junkie, if you're like one of these people, you're like, I eat, breathe, sleep football. I love it to the day I die. I'm a diehard, whatever you want to be. I don't understand how you wouldn't want to sit down in a room with the guy that's regarded as the greatest of all time, right? If you're a hockey guy, you'd want to sit down with Gretzky. If you're a basketball guy, you'd want to sit down with Jordan. If you were a soccer guy, you'd want to sit down with Messi. You would have to be willing to sit down with some of these guys. If you're a baseball guy, this is a whole nother type of conversation, but there's a lot of greats out there for baseball. No doubt about it. I'm a Mets guy, but if it was up to me, my favorite pitcher for a while was Jacob deGrom. Then he ended up going to the Rangers. If I had an opportunity to sit down with Jacob deGrom, I'd probably do it. All right, here we go. Next thing, one more tweet here from Josina, and then I got another one from Ian, and we'll put a bow on this. I know it's a little bit of a longer video. Josina, pay attention to the order of Johnson's interviews. So first one was the Patriots. The second one was the Raiders, and he's got two more interviews this weekend. And think about leverage and how it's constructed. The idea is to make the team you're most interested in the most anxious. These coaching hires are two-way decisions, thus organizations have to convince top coaching prospects just as much. Where is Ben Johnson most set up for success? I'll be real. I don't know if you're as much set up with the Raiders for success, but the only reason why that I might spin this is because if you're head coach and you believe that you're going to be a difference maker, if one of the reasons why you want to be able to be brought in is because of stability. I mean, the Raiders are showing you that they're trying to figure out and they're trying to right their wrongs by bringing in Jed Hughes, by having Tom Brady and create a lot of these things. You also have $108 million in salary cap space. The only team that has more is the New England Patriots. You have 10 overall draft picks. You have the number 6 overall pick. You have 4 picks in the top 75. Not a lot of teams can say that. Thanks to the Devontae trade, you have 5 picks in the top 110. You have the ability to be able to rebuild this thing. Now, yeah, there's a lot of missing pieces and there's a lot of holes, but I think you got to look at, what a team like the Commanders did last season. The Commanders, what did they do? You needed a brand new head coach, brought in the GM. Both of their aligned ideas came together. Awesome. Get an OC that thinks the same way. Got to get a quarterback like Jaden Daniels. Tom Telesco was unwilling to go up and get Jaden. And I want to say unwilling, just unable to do it. I think one of the other reasons, another thing that we got to look for is the Raiders to be very aggressive and going up and getting a guy like Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur has been a name that's been linked to Tom Brady. Those two have worked together for a while. And there's been some rumblings from NFL scouts out there that the comp to Shedeur, there's a lot of people that are comparing Shedeur's style to Jared Goff. And that might be an unsexy opinion to some people, but I actually don't hate the idea. I do think Goff was a better quarterback when he was ready, like coming out of college. Obviously, he was, the number one overall pick. But their styles of game are not totally different. And if you're Ben Johnson and you're looking at Brady, and these two maybe could be a head coach, GM pairing. Maybe they don't even bring in a general manager. And if Brady's like, I've worked with Shedeur, I'm telling you this is the guy, and he's like, this guy you've been working with, we're going to go get him. Buckle up. It's going to be a hell of an offseason. Final thing here from Rappaport. Ben Johnson interviewed virtually with the Raiders yesterday afternoon, and he's got the Bears and Jaguars today. The Lions may be playing for a while, so if in fact he is Las Vegas' choice, they're going to be willing to wait. So it's a reminder, if you're playing, right, like if your team is still in the playoffs, if the Raiders want to hire Ben Johnson and they make it to the Super Bowl, you can't hire him until after the Super Bowl. So we're going to have to deal with this for at least another week because they don't play this week. But quite frankly, if there's one team that I'm rooting for to win the Super Bowl this year, it's the Detroit Lions. When you've gone that long of losing, those fans deserve it. And I know if the Raiders fans were in a situation where we had the number one seed in our division and we're a legit chance to win Super Bowl, like, dude, honestly, man, I can't wait for that experience, and I hope it happens sooner rather than later. I'm getting chills talking about it now. All right, y'all, I'm getting ready to hop on out of here. Really, really long video today. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. I'll see you a little bit later, 30 minutes before kickoff. F the Chargers. Let's go Texans. Really, really hoping that you guys can get a dub. Good luck to you, Chugs. Reminder, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and if you made it this far in the video, and if you like this style of video, if y'all keep liking it, I'm going to keep doing shit like this. Hit that like button. Greatly, greatly appreciate everyone again for tuning in to the Raiders Report. Hit that subscribe button. I promise you we're going to keep you guys up to date all off season long on everything going on around the silver and black. So this might look like a tennis ball to some, but other people might see it as a video. And you can see Chuck right now is very interested in this video, though I think the subscribe button might be here, so I don't know if you can see it. Or if you want more videos around the Raiders, click that button right there.